Can you tell, there's a lot of people that claim to do what you do.
Yeah.
Can you tell when people are not doing what you do and are fake? Yeah.
I think a lot of people mean well.
Really? You don't think a lot of people take advantage of people?
I think that there are those who do, but I think you would be surprised how many people mean well and have just kind of convinced themselves.
Well, I think there's a lot of charlatans and a lot of people that take advantage. I can't remember who this is not mine. I will say this.
Yeah.
There was a comic that used to make fun of the art of being a medium. And he used to go he'd be in a crowd and he'd go, okay, is there a Tom?
J name.
Right. But he would do that. He'd go,
Yeah.
I'm getting a T, T. Is there a Tom here? Is there a Tom here? I'm getting a T. I'm getting a Tom. T, tomato. Has anybody ever eaten a tomato?
It's a vegetable.
Is there somebody here that has seen a tomato?
Or a Tom.
Yeah, one of the two.
For sure. I think, when it comes to that, you can tell that someone's credible if they put an emphasis on validation. Someone has to be able to bring up information that's only known between you and the person that passed. In this day and age, a name is not all that impressive to get. Maybe in the 1800s, if someone said, they're a Reginald, it would be a little bit more impressive. But nowadays, Google exists, right? So if someone gives you your grandmother's name, to me, that's a very low bar. Someone should be able to tell you your grandmother's last words, family dynamics that have gone on in the family since grandma died, recent conversations. Those things substantiate a connection. And I think if anyone's going to see a medium, it's important to not give information, to not volunteer information, and to know and remember that you know your loved one more than any medium sitting in front of you. So what is reflected and the messages and the nuance should feel and will register as meaningful.
Like you spoke about with Alan Thicke, do you find that when you're out in public, and I have other friends that are also mediums, and anytime we've had them on here, and feel free to comment and argue and whatever. I like that kind of conversation. Yeah. Do you find that the power from the other side will force you onto, like I obviously with the bully, that was a great moment, and whoever was.
You had that happen with your friend Goldie, right? When you had someone on.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had on. Do you know who George Anderson is?
Oh, yes.
I love that guy. And he's really, that was the first time. I was a huge skeptic. And he's actually done the podcast. But that was my first encounter with him was so, there was no way that, by the time I met you, I'm a believer.
Right.
So, but when you're a skeptic, and then you are, as a skeptic, receiving something that at that time there was no Google or anything, and you're receiving things that happened that day where you were not. Yeah. You go, how else?
Right.
You can use the word coincidence, but there can be only so much is coincidence, and then we have to be open-minded.
I heard a famous quote that said, there's two types of people, those who believe in meaningful coincidence and those who don't.
What is that?
There's some people who would take your experience and say, oh, he just coincidentally brought up some stuff. There were some good guesses. And then there's people who would say, oh, that time, that place aligned for you to hear that information, and it was applicable, and it was validatable, and it made sense. So you have some people who are completely different trains of thought. There's people who will look at your experience and completely say, oh, it was just lucky guesses and coincidence. And then you have those who see and can recognize the meaning of synchronicity, of timing, and of the fact that you heard those messages at a time that made sense to you. It was meaningful. It convinced you of something.